Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video, and today I just want to sit down and just chat about Iceborne, and more specifically, what I hope to see in the expansion. Hopefully by now you guys know what Iceborne is, you've seen the announcement. If for some reason you haven't, then Iceborne is, of course, the expansion to Monster Hunter World coming autumn 2019, and with it comes a new area, new monsters, new weapons, new gear, a new quest rank, which is basically G rank, so lots of cool stuff to look forward to. And with that being said, I thought it'd be fun to just sort of sit down and chat about some of the things that I personally really want to see in the expansion. I've been playing Monster Hunter for years now, and I've been through my fair share of G rank expansions, so with that in mind, I thought it'd be kind of fun to just sort of apply that to Iceborne and talk about some things that we might see, and some things that I just hope we do see. So if you guys enjoy that, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know what you guys would like to see, even if it's completely out there, completely wacky. Let me know what you guys would like to see. And also, if you guys haven't entered our giveaway for the limited edition Super Smash Bros. Nintendo Switch, you still have a couple of days to do so. So click that link in the description box down below to enter. Now, kicking things off at number one, the very first thing is much greater weapon variety when it comes to the actual aesthetics of the weapon. Monster Hunter is a game that for the longest time has had fantastic weapon and armor design. I would go as far as say some of the best I've ever seen. Honestly, in some of the older games, even some of the early weapons, just from like the quote-unquote rubbish monsters, you still have really cool weapons. And then, you know, once you get to the higher tier stuff, you start fighting some of the really endgame stuff, your weapons are so incredibly awesome. And yes, World does have some cool gear, some cool weapons, but let's be honest, the majority of the high-end weapons are basically just monster parts slapped on either an iron or a bone base. Now, on one side, maybe the kind of design decision behind that was because Monster Hunter World looks slightly more realistic. Maybe they wanted to kind of do something that makes a little bit more sense. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't care about realism. I mean, I'm fighting a giant wyvern, I'm fighting a hedgehog on steroids. I don't care about realism. I just want a badass weapon. I don't care if it's stupidly big and too crazy to hold. I want it. So hopefully in Iceborne, once we do start getting towards the G rank stuff, because of course, if you guys haven't experienced that before, then G rank, admittedly the quest rank might be called something different in Iceborne, but essentially G rank, whenever you fight the same monsters, they have completely new armor sets. There's also additional upgrade trees for your weapons, so hopefully some of the ones that we have right now that maybe don't have the coolest designs, maybe they'll have upgrade paths that lead to something that is actually really cool. So honestly, that is probably one of my number one things that I really want to see, just much greater variety when it comes to the actual look and feel of the weapons themselves. Then moving on from there to number two, this one's kind of an obvious one, it's something that basically everyone wants, but that's of course more monsters, both returning and new. Now, to be clear, I appreciate that some people might kind of feel that World doesn't have a huge roster of monsters, especially if you kind of put it side by side with something like Generations Ultimate, which has a insane roster. But let's be honest, the only reason that had so many monsters was because, of course, they've come from the previous handheld titles. World had to be completely built from the ground up, so it's only natural it never would have had the same roster, but I feel like that's amplified towards the end game because, you know, you only really end up fighting about 5 monsters, so it feels really, really small. So I do hope that in Iceborne we, you know, almost double the roster to the point where, you know, we have a ton of cool monsters to fight. Now, I do want to see some returning monsters. You know, I've been playing Monster Hunter for years, and there are some really cool monsters that I do want to see come back. But having said that, I do want to see a lot of new monsters as well, because, you know, you get to the point where, yes, sure, I want to see what T-Rex plays like in Iceborne, for example, because he's one of my favourite monsters, but I've also fought him time and time again throughout various different games. So I definitely, at least for me personally, do want to see a lot more new monsters, just because every time you fight a new monster, there's that excitement of going back to camp and being like, what does the armor look like? What do the weapons look like? Whereas if I fight someone like, you know, World T-Rex, sure, it's a new fight, but I'm like, I kind of know what it looks like already. So yeah, definitely a lot of new monsters. Obviously, yes, there are some ones that I do want to see. I called out T-Rex, of course. You know, the fact that we've seen the Nagakuga tease in the trailer clearly says that, you know, if that skeleton's in the game, I'm pretty sure T-Rex will be there too, and that could hopefully apply to something like Barioth as well, another very cool monster. Of course, I want to see things like Zanoga, Glavenus, Rajang. Do keep in mind as well that while Iceborne, you know, the titling and whatnot will clearly focus on an icy region, whenever they do have an expansion, they will still add monsters, or they typically add monsters into the older regions as well, so it doesn't have to just be ice monsters. So when you're thinking about monsters that you want to see added, don't just think about, you know, things that will fit in the ice biome. You could of course think about things that would then fit back into, say, the Ancient Forest, Wildspire Waste, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely lots of new monsters, hopefully a good balance of, you know, new and old, because of course there are so many people that have got into Monster Hunter World for the first time, so for a lot of you guys, if they're returning monsters, they're going to be brand new for you, And there are some really, really cool ones out there. And with that being said, moving on to point number 3, I do hope they make better use of the entire monster roster towards the end game. Now, yes, it's always been a tradition in Monster Hunter that, you know, you have some of the lesser monsters you fight early on in the game, and then gradually as you get towards end game, you fight the more serious ones. You know, the Elder Dragons, that kind of stuff. That's always been a core structure. But of course, in World, that was amplified because, as mentioned, you get to the point where end game, you're basically fighting 5 monsters. So that roster of, say, 20, 30 monsters actually feels infinitely smaller. So if they can at least get to the point where in Iceborne they make better use of the wider monster roster, then hopefully that roster won't actually feel quite so small, even if there are, in the grand scheme of things, still fewer to choose from. That of course means, you know, you can bring back things like Dodogama. Dodogama never got the appreciation he deserved. I want to see what G-rank Dodogama gear looks like, so please make it happen, but you know, you get the point. You can take some of those monsters that are, let's be honest, quite interesting. Anjanath is a great example, a very interesting monster. You know, we've seen, hopefully from the teaser image that's actually behind me, I'm guessing the one that the female hunter's wearing is G-rank Anjanath gear, so you know, we'll see stuff like that, but I definitely want to see more of that at the top end, because that will just give people a whole load more stuff to hunt, and it'll just add to some more, you know, longevity for the game. Following on from there, point number 4, I actually want to see them do more stuff with squads. Squads are, of course, you know, essentially the clan system in the game, is a really cool addition, but fundamentally, it's just a chance to make a dedicated room, and you know, you can have a little icon next to your name. There isn't a great deal of stuff to do with it, but I would love to see them bolster that and kind of build more stuff around the clan system to the point where, you know, say for example, you had arena quests and you could actually join and submit, you know, times as clans. Maybe they even had like clan rewards. Maybe on a weekly basis, in the same way that you have bounties, maybe you could have clan bounties. You know, for example, your personal bounty might be to hunt, you know, 3 wyverns, but your clan bounty could be to hunt 300 wyverns, and then across all of your clan, that's like a cumulative score, and then maybe if you do that, you get like, you know, a bunch of gold wyverian prints, maybe you get a bunch of like, I don't know, golden eggs you can sell. Point is, if you had some like clan objectives to work towards, then I think that would be kind of fun to all band together and just do more stuff as clans. Because I feel like as a system, as a squad system, they're just not utilised to their fullest potential, and there's so much more you could do with them. And you can even extend it to like clan items. I'm not necessarily saying you have to have like the best endgame items, but you could have things like, say, you know, a clan armor set that actually has your logo or has a place for your logo on it. So that way, when people start rocking, you know, the cape and whatnot, they could then have it on the back and you can actually rep for your clan. Maybe you could turn it into a layered armor set, so that way it can be more applicable. You can even have clan weapons. So I'd for sure love to see them do more with that system. And then finally, to round it out, point number 5, I really want to see more in-depth, either transmog or just an expansion to the layered armor system. Layered armor is really cool, and for all intents and purposes, it is the closest thing to transmog. It's not quite transmog because you're not physically combining 2 pieces of armor and taking the stats of one and the look and feel of another, but that's essentially what layered armor lets you do. But I want to see them do more with that. For example, there are so many armor sets out there that are really cool, but you just don't wear them. Odogaron armor, for example, is probably one of my favorite ones, but I just don't wear it these days because there's just so many more better pieces out there. However, imagine for a second if they expanded the layered armor system whereby you could unlock existing armor sets as layered if you met certain conditions. It could be challenges. They could put like cool challenges behind it. You know, on one end it could be super simple whereby like, you know, you go out and you hunt like 1,000 Odogaron, and yes, that's a lot of stuff to hunt, but let's just say you do it and then you unlock the layered armor set. Or it could be something like, you know, go and cut off 50 tails from an Odogaron, and then when you do that, you unlock it as a layered armor set. If you then attach challenges to it, not only would it give people things to chase, but it would also incentivize them to hunt a wider monster roster. Let's say you do have some of those lower tier monsters that, you know, maybe don't necessarily get your attention because their armor set isn't that great, but you like the look of it. You could then be like, you know what, I'm gonna go and hunt my 50 Dodogama because I want to unlock the layered armor set. I mean, maybe you wouldn't do that for Dodogama because his armor isn't that great, but you get the point. You could then do that, apply that to the whole armor set system, and you could then basically make it so that people could actually physically go out and pursue those, and then have slightly more control over the way they look and feel. You know, or alternatively, you could just bring us a traditional transmog system. It's in, you know, Generations Ultimate. I'd be completely happy with either one, but I want to see more of that because, you know, ultimately that leads to more personalization. But anyway, that's it for the time being. That's a few ideas. There are a few things that I would personally like to see in Iceborne. There's so much more stuff I could talk about. Honestly, I could keep going for hours just talking about things that I would like to see. But for the time being, those are a few things off the top of my head. Let me know again what you guys think in the comments down below. What would you like to see the most? What monster in particular are you really hoping comes back? All of that, let me know down below. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget, if you want to grab some sweet Arekkz Gaming merch, you can head over to the Endgame store right now. That's linked down below. And you can pick up either the Arekkz Gaming festive jumper or sweater. And yes, we might be past Christmas, but it's an awesome jumper, so if you want to grab one, they are super limited. There were only 100 of them made, but there are still a few left, so you can pick those up if you want. Plus, we have the limited Yeet pin from 269's live stream. If you want to grab that, the awesome mascot, you get that as a pin and a sticker, so both of those are available to purchase if you guys want to pick them up. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to stay tuned, don't forget to stay subscribed, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads, and you can check out some of the more recent videos linked right here.